Welcome back to Beyond the Cards. My name is Allison DiNicola. I'm the host, and it is my immense pleasure today to have Amelia Rozear here. She is the artist, creator of the Curious Travels Tarot deck that's been recently published by US Games. And so, welcome, Amelia.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and to know US Games and now to meet you. So I'm excited to chat.
Great. We love having you. It's so nice. It's so nice because the tarot audience and creators and users alike. It's just really nice to get a glimpse and to hear directly from the creators, artists. What inspired them, what got them going. I'm just going to read a little bit about you so people have a little more context. So Amelia is a Providence-based painter and illustrator with a love of traditional media. Her work is an ode to her childhood in coastal New England and is inspired by textile design, storybook illustration, and traditional painting. She loves rewriting past experiences through a fictional lens. So I love that. That's just a great little teaser into this card deck. But before we get to talk about that, tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got started? Like, when did you first consider yourself an artist?
Oh man, well, I was very lucky to have two very creative and talented grandmothers, both my maternal and paternal grandmothers. One of them is very interested in sewing and textiles and sort of yard yard projects and botany and really cool things, and the other one is a watercolor and oil painter. So when I was growing up, I was invited into their studios and creative spaces. So I was always exposed to creation and art making in that way. And I guess I didn't consider myself a practicing artist or on the art track until about high school, when I realized that art was the only thing that I wasn't getting very bored with in school. It was the one thing that held my attention and that I constantly wanted to learn more about and get better at. So I ended up going to art school, and now I would consider myself a practicing artist, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I love that. It's so amazing. I mean, I think from an early age, a lot of artists, creators know that they have this just desire, inner desire to be creating in some way. And I think it's tough for people to follow that route because there's society that says, well, you should really be doing this because you could go get a job, being an accountant or whatever. So yes, where did you go to school, by the way?
I went to RISD, so that's what brought me to Providence, the Rhode Island School of Design, for those who don't know
Hmm.
the what's that called?
Like the
Um,
lingo of that, yeah, the
yeah,
an
whatever.
acronym of it, yeah.
So I went there and it was really great. I think that I'm a big believer in you don't need to go to art school to be a professional or practicing artist. I think that especially these days with the internet and social media and things like that, it's so much more about learning kind of some business techniques and marketing techniques and making sure that you know how to present yourself and your work. So RISD I was so lucky to have gone there. And now I'm experiencing the city without having to go to classes, which has been great fun.
Beautiful. I love it. So tell us a little bit about how you got started with the tarot.
Oh
When were you
yeah.
first introduced to tarot? Like when did you learn about that?
So I had a friend, a few friends actually in high school who were always talking about tarot and loved the art of it and loved practicing it, and they were learning. So it was sort of in my purview. I was a little bit close to it, but not actually practicing it myself. But I really got hyper fixated on learning a lot about it during the initial 2020 quarantine, because it was a lot of free time, which is like ripe for new interests and hobbies. So as I was researching tarot online and through friends and people in my life who had been practicing for a while, I was drawn primarily to the artistic symbolism in each card. And I started making kind of a daily practice of sketching out a potential deck of my own. And that eventually turned into the Curious Travels deck as a whole. So it was a big project that spanned kind of all of quarantine.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's not that long for the creation because we're talking about a 79 card deck. That's a lot of images to create. Some people work on their decks for like a decade. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a pretty quick manifestation. How did you really what got you like propelled? So you were doing it and sketching out, but what really solidified that like this is really coming together and this is going to be ready to be born?
Well, I had made a couple cards. I felt like maybe it would be the kind of project where I would make just the major arcana or a couple of my favorite cards and share them with people and do a limited series of tarot inspired artworks. But I started sharing them online and people started resonating with the work. And I I think still have a lot of imposter syndrome in regards to sharing my work and feeling included in a creative community. So when I realized that this is something that could help people with their tarot enjoyment, for lack of a better term, or just bring a new voice into the community, I realized that, oh, maybe this is worth seeing through to the end. I would consider it the first major project like this of this scale that I actually saw through to fruition, which is great because to me, the entire story of tarot, because I kind of view it as a story through each suit
Hmm.
until the end. It's all about the birth of ideas and then seeing it through and then like reaping the reward. And so it kind of paralleled my experience in the creation of the deck as a whole, which it brings me lots of joy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you felt like this, but a lot of people that work on tarot decks will say when they're in the certain card or they're in the certain suit, they're kind of experiencing that energy. It's almost like you have to live every part of the tarot, right? All the experiences, light and dark, when you're doing the creative. Did that happen to you? Did you find that like, maybe when you were working on the tower or maybe when you were in the suit of swords, which are, all about mental action.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because when I was creating them, um, there wasn't much to do in my life. Like I was kind of this very sedentary homebody during this time. So I think a lot of it I was experiencing mentally, and just in the sheer act of painting and creating. So yeah, I'd say especially in the Suit of Wands, I was getting very excited for the initial
Mm.
embarking of that journey. But I think it did manifest a little bit, maybe a little subtler, since I wasn't in active life or what I considered to be active,
Yeah.
society and life at that time. But I think it definitely did. And then when Pentacles came around, I was feeling very fulfilled, and it was nice. It was a really cool parallel.
Awesome. I love that. Before I show any of the deck or share any of that, I wanted to ask you what other decks other than Rider Waite that you maybe referenced or something that inspired you or something else that maybe your friends were reading with. It's just always interesting to see what other people have connection with. Was there anything else or were you like a purist of, Pamela Coleman Smith, Rider Waite?
I mean, I wouldn't call myself a purist. I think I was looking at a lot of decks on Kickstarter as I was developing mine. And my friends, I can get you the names of the decks because I don't own them, but my friends have these really beautiful, traditionally painted cards. So I'm definitely drawn to cards that are more eclectic and a little bit based in that historical or medieval style of art. I think that that's very nice and refreshing. And to have that with a little contemporary twist is always fun. So I'll get you specific names because I definitely have a
Yeah.
couple.
I
Yeah.
was just just curious. It's like sometimes something sticks out in your head and you're like, it could be something that you saw. You're like, oh my God, I saw that. And that, helped me to bring the thread together. But you did an amazing job. I want to just share. I have the box here, Curious Travels Tarot deck. And so you were both the artist and the writer, correct? You wrote the book, which is really nicely done. Since I am an author myself, I have been enjoying working with the cards and using the booklet. And so, as I said, 79 cards. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Um, And then here's the booklet, nice size booklet. And I just love how you guys collaborated, and there's little bits of illustration throughout the book, which just makes it special and very charming. So
I was blown away. I was
yeah,
truly blown away. I had no, I mean, I had expectations, but I was sort of, I didn't know what I expected, but this was just, it kind of blew everything out of the water.
it was a beautiful collaboration. I'm not sure exactly who worked on this. I'm not going to do that. All of our designers at US Games are amazing. So I just love, I just love that unique kind of marriage of the book and the card deck. And before I show my favorite, because I did pull some cards out that I love, tell me what your favorite cards are in this deck. Do you have a favorite or two
Oh boy, I have a
or three?
couple. I
Okay.
have a couple. Yeah, I'd say my absolute favorite design wise when it comes to art, I would say the Queen of Cups is my favorite. She's
Hmm.
like a little fish head queen with lots of shells and ocean goodness all around
Um,
her. And it's sort of I always associate the cup suit with just kind of bubbling over with excitement and inspiration. And so I'd say she's always my ideal state of mind. So she's
oh, I
probably
love that.
my favorite. Yeah. But in contrast to that, I also really love the tower, which is sort of chaos for the sake of goodness in a way. That's how I view it anyway. Like positive change is coming, but it could shake you up a bit. And I don't know. I'd say the gold in that one is really beautiful. So that's why I like that one.
I love it. So all of them I have to say are really beautiful, and I they are mixed together, so it would take me a little while to pull it out. But I did pull out a few favorites and some that I thought were really interesting. So for those of you who are listening or watching, um, the cards are just beautiful watercolor images, very natural and very unique um, to Amelia's style. But there's gold foil little icons in the cards, which just make the cards just a little bit extra special. And so, of course, the first card, which is the kind of the cover that I pulled out, which I love, is the strength card, the lion. And I think it's just like a personal kind of thing for me. I am not a Leo, I can tell you that, but I do love the strength card just as a symbolic um, archetype of the tarot. So I love this lion, and I love just the little flecks of gold. It's kind of hard to see. I'll just shine it against the light there. So that was one that I did pull out. And then I thought the Hermit was really cool. Can you talk to us about the Hermit card, which is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah, so I liked the Hermit card a lot. I love the classic Rider-Waite pose with the arch person. But for mine, I knew I wanted to obscure the face with something. I feel like the Hermit card is such an introspective card and it reflects like building intuition through solitary experience. So I think that for this one, I wanted to just face the card towards you, but still hide the identity. And I love a star, so I added a star as well.
I love it. I love the star, and I just love it's really got like a very mysterious um kind of like I want to look further into that interior world that really gets that across to me. So I just that really drew me in was the Hermit. And I think one that probably people are already talking about. I've seen your deck on some podcasters doing readings with it, which is really exciting. But the Hierophant came up a couple of times, and I saw this. So tell us about your visual idea for the Hierophant.
That one, I have always loved owls and owl imagery, since I was a kid. So this one was a little bit dear to my heart. I think that I associate the birds with wisdom, and this card specifically, I associate with teaching and passing along knowledge and being this ethical person who leads people who might need guidance. So in this card, I wanted to layer up a lot of textiles and patterns to create almost a mountainous character that reveals itself as this owl being, and that will lead these two figures in the front through whatever crisis they might be going through.
I love it. I love Owl. He's so, I mean, he's just so, he just has a wisdom face, right? It's like you just want to go ask him the question. Um, yeah, I love that. And also it just gives me this, so there's a lot of nature elements too, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. There are a lot of animals represented in the deck. The other card that I did pull out is the Knight of Wands, which is this gorgeous horse with does he have a lizard on his nose, like like a gold lizard?
It's a salamander.
Oh, a
So,
salamander. Okay,
yeah.
so
I can
he
talk a
caught
little
my
bit about
attention.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about this card.
So this one I associate the suit of wands is very like fiery and getting your idea. It's that initial sort of push for your idea, and you're very inspired. You have the wind under your wings a little bit. And the when you get towards the end, the higher numbers of the card, you see salamander imagery a little bit more. So I know on the Rider Waite card, I believe when I was researching, I knew for sure, but the knight has some salamander elements or patterns
Hmm.
on his outfit. And so I wanted to reimagine this card, and visual kept coming to me without the knight itself, but rather using the steed and creating this kind of mythical being in flames with the salamander present still. So that's kind of where this one came from. And I think a lot of these cards, I had this initial design idea in my head that I thought would be interesting or capture someone's attention, and then the rest was figuring out how to tie it to be faithful to the original deck and the true meaning and symbolism in the card. So some cards it's a little bit more trying to make the design fit, and other cards it's trying to make the symbolism fit into the like vice versa, if that makes sense.
Well, bravo. I mean, you did a gorgeous, spectacular job. And they're also different, and that's but they all have the same feeling, like that they're all part of the same family. But so I think you just did a beautiful job doing that. I pulled two other cards out that I wanted to talk to you about. Number one is just the sun, which is always like a card I like to take a look at. Of course, like the kind of that happiest card in the deck, they'll say, or the sun is going to come out and shine. And so it's interesting because it's not I don't know if it's quite a child on there. She's got a gold top, and it looks almost like there are that's your version of the sunflower or the heliotropes that are in the sky. But she's kind of reflecting. So was there a different feeling about the sun, or is it just, basking in the sun kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say that basking feeling, I wanted it to be very bright and colorful and full of green and new beginning type feeling. I couldn't decide for this card if I wanted to turn a sunflower into the sun, but throughout the making of this deck, I had this specific sun face, which you can see in this one and a few other cards that kept coming up as I was making it. So I decided to stick with the traditional sun and then just add other emblems and elements around it. And she's just sort of a character that for a lot of the little characters in each card, they're sort of stand-ins for the reader in a way, because I like to have the reader feel incorporated into whatever story their pull leads to. So that was the idea behind that.
Awesome. I love it. And the last one that I pulled out, and there might be, I mean, honestly, everyone get this deck because it is so gorgeous. And I really have just been enjoying it, working with it and kind of little fresh take on those standard symbols. But you added a bonus card here called the Travelers. So we know it's a Curious Travels deck. And then this card is not numbered, and it is card number 79. So tell us how this came about.
Yeah, I knew that I wanted a bonus card. When I realized that I was going to be, excuse me, putting this deck on Kickstarter and trying to bring it to life initially in that way. I wanted sort of a tribute to every reader that would use this deck and every supporter that helped bring it to life. And my idea behind this card is, I think I mentioned before that when I view the whole deck and when I was learning about the deck, I read it in its entirety as a big narrative and story and adventure that someone was embarking on. And each combination of cards in every pull wrote your unique story and pathway. So this card sort of is a culmination of all of those ideas in one, and the style is a little bit different from the rest of the deck. I'd say it's a little bit more grounded in like an interior, whereas most
Mhm.
other cards are exterior and focused on nature and animals. This one is a little bit more grounded in day-to-day life, or a little bit more grounded in reality. So I wanted it to be still adventurous, but yeah, grounded in that way.
So if I pull this card, and so according to your description, it's really like, oh, it's a positive card to say, something new is going to be starting, or there's this new spark, or you got to start a new journey. The journey is now, kind of thing. That was um, kind of what it felt like. Um, if you were using this in a reading, and this came up, would you be like, yeah, go for it? Would that be like a yes, a confirmation, or would it be up to the reader? You have
I
any?
would say for me, every card pull depends on all the other cards around it. Like it changes and depends on so much on the context of the reading entirety. So I'd say if the other cards you pull along with this one are, oh, you've done a lot of research on something, you're excited about something, you're in a really good healthy spot, and then this card comes in, it might be pushing you towards like jumping off that hill and taking that new journey. Whereas if it's like maybe you need to take a break or reevaluate your life or position or your relationships, maybe this card would mean to prepare for future journeys, you should like return back to the books a little bit, take a breath, and then reevaluate and move forward at a later time. But yeah, I'd say every other card affects how every other card is read.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. So that's awesome. Um, are you working on something new? Are you dreaming about something new? What are you up
I
to?
I mean, I always have multiple projects going all at once. I'm trying to create, this is kind of spoilers, but I'm creating a little astrology calendar. I hope to get it done in time. So I actually have some work right here I could show you. I didn't plan this actually, but I have some initial designs for some astrology characters all playing
Oh,
instruments.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Yeah,
so that's what I'll be working on today. But other than that, I've always got new deck ideas swirling around, and I'm always painting on something. And yeah, I'd say I just share whatever I can, and I have fun.
I love it. So I like to ask people at the end if there's one thing that people generally don't know about you, or if you have a special just a like some kind of interesting fun fact about yourself, or maybe there's a superpower. Obviously your superpower is being a beautiful artist creator, but maybe there's just something else that's of interest to people that they wouldn't ordinarily know. And I'm just, of course, I'm putting you on the spot, so let you
That's
decide.
a great question.
Yeah.
It's times like this where you realize like, oh, who am I even, you know? Let's see. Well, I was a competitive Irish step dancer for the first bulk of my life, which like until college. So that's a little fun fact that might be out of the ordinary, but I love Celtic imagery and culture, and yeah, my family's very Irish, so it's Irish American. So that factors into a lot of what I do and how I live and all that.
I love that, like with the wigs and the beautiful dresses and the
Yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
it was
That's a
pretty
fantastic
cool.
fact. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. So,
Thanks.
it's all in the arts, right? It's like, all these different things that create who you are, and your passions. And it's absolutely obvious through this card deck that you are going to probably continue on and on and on, because there's just so much talent, and just have been enjoying it a lot. So thank you for bringing it to life. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us, and our listeners that hope to know more about our creators. And we'll see you soon.